Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning to this, the Wednesday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. I must apologize for the poor lighting. Unfortunately, we've had going on 24 hours now of no electricity. Well done, eThekwini municipality. Your great service delivery shines through once again. Well, there's no electricity, so there's no shining at all. Nonetheless, I digress. Good morning, welcome to it. Remember, all you need to do here on Vuka Nazo is to hit that like button, of course. And if you're watching the simulcast on Facebook or on YouTube, share, please, the stream. And if you're watching on YouTube in particular, hit that subscribe button and, join the now nearly 39,300 of you who are fans of the show. Help me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers. Guys, if you're looking to support the work that we do, anything between 50 to 100 Rand a month, 75 Rand is the average that we do per person per month, well then find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There is a payment method that suits you there. Why don't you go over there and support your favorite fat boy? With that being said, enough of the jibber jabber. Let's get straight into the news. All right, we begin here this morning with a reminder to you that GODONGWANA, that's the finance minister, will be delivering the budget today. Now, there's a lot to look out for, a lot to keep an eye out for in this particular budget speech. But one area that I'm going to touch on this morning, and we'll do a full deep dive this Sunday, 8 p.m. on Liberty and Friends. I'll have a panel of some of the most eminent economists to help us unpack this budget. So look out for that. That's Liberty and Friends this Sunday. But this morning, I want to just basically touch on one area, something I'll be looking out for. And that is how this government, fiscally speaking, will be managing the debt crisis that South Africa is in. But there's two large areas of debt that one has to worry about. One is government debt. That is government directly, its debt that it owes to foreign lenders. And of course, the debt that is accumulating, that's bubbling in the state-owned enterprises, these businesses that are run by the state or government, businesses that only exist because of the ideology, the bad ideology, the leftist ideology of our politicians. Businesses that you and I know should not exist and that should be in the private sector. And why? Because whenever the private sector runs something, it runs it based on incentives. It has an incentive to provide the service to you so that you will give it funds or money in order to run that particular service. Simply put, they want your money more than they want the product or the service that they produce. That is the incentive, the profit incentive that they have. Whereas state-owned enterprises don't have that incentive. Whether they provide the service or the good becomes irrelevant. Why? Because they know that when they run at a loss, they will be bailed out. And there is a history of this already where you, the taxpayer, you, the faith, flag, family, and freedom type South African, reeling and struggling financially as you are still taxed to death in this country by politicians who spend this money on businesses, which I just said, should not be in the hands of the state. These businesses should be privatized so that you are not bailing them out every single year. Because trust you me, for every bailout that these politicians continue to give businesses, it's less money that goes into critically needed goods, services, and indeed infrastructure that the state should be spending on. Now, there are consequences and repercussions for when the state takes that money that should be effectively invested in you, the citizen in this country, and gives it to their friends and their butties, the political elites in the state-owned enterprises. Because trust me, that's all these SOEs are. They are literally jobs for pals arrangements. They are crony arrangements that are designed to reward the political elites, where the ANC deploys its cadres into the state-owned enterprises. They are effectively useless, bloated bureaucracies that achieve nothing, often not even providing the very services that they're meant to provide. How do you have a ESCOM, a single provider of electricity, not providing the electricity? I'm sitting in darkness, or rather I'm sitting without lights at the moment because of an outage in my area, not load shedding related. But nonetheless, the point I was making is every time they take productive money, good money, to throw it after bad vanity project, bad state-owned enterprises, that is less money that is going to things that are actually needed. Safety and security, healthcare, infrastructure, infrastructure, etc., etc. We saw that last year. Let me remind you, as I read this EWN piece, of what it looks like when good money is thrown after a bad SOE by way of a bailout. It means less money for you. Let me remind you, as I read, how last year giving Eskom a 300 billion rand bailout had led to the reduction of about 257 billion rand in public funds available for frontline services and critical infrastructure. GODONGWANA, that's the finance minister, called for state-owned enterprises to develop and implement sustainable turnaround strategies, he called them, adding that strict criteria would be followed to fund failing parastatals this year. End of quote. Y'all believe that? Are y'all still believing that these state-owned enterprises and politicians and statists and lefties and commies and socialists will be turning anything around? Are we still believing that nonsense? Or are we beginning to believe what I have been saying for a while, which is end the grift, end the political grift that is state-owned enterprises, privatize these services, encourage the blossoming of a private sector, a market-orientated approach to providing these services, whatever they may be, from electricity to various other services. Allow the private sector to play a bigger role, free the taxpayer from these bailouts and grow this economy. If you don't do that, then we'll continue on this downward spiral of bailouts until we as a country have no more money. Mali iphelile. Ah yes, another incident of rampant looting by rubbishes, if I can quote that farmer in the previous incident that we covered on Vuka Nazo. This time in the Western Cape, where when a truck overturned that was carrying sheep, people proceeded to help themselves and loot that particular truck. Watch this. Now, of course, that incident, as you'll know my particular view on this, is absolutely unacceptable. There is zero excuse for the breakdown in law and order rather, and lawlessness that we often see, opportunistic in its nature, of whenever there's a truck or some even a car accident scene, there is this behavior of people mobbing these particular incidents or accident scenes rather, and proceeding to loot from them, whether it's cattle and beef, as was the case previously, where involving allegedly that Medicine Without Frontiers worker, you remember that incident, there's a thumbnail of that particular show, but indeed, or other incidents, as I mentioned, where there is even a trend, if you will, in this country. If there's an accident scene, some people will stop not to help, but actually to pickpocket the people who are either injured or dead in that vehicle. That is the country you live in. That is the South Africa, unfortunately, that we share with some rubbishes in this country, a moral decay in this country that is not caused by poverty, because often, as you often hear, people defending this kind of nonsense. Oh, it's the poor, they say. The poor are hungry, they say. That is a annoying, indeed a self-loathing that I've argued often characterizes certain individuals who love making those arguments, often lefties who like making those arguments because they pretend that they somehow understand the poor. Being poor does not mean you lack a sense of law and order, a sense of right or wrong, or even basic morality. What we're seeing here is criminality and a government that is failing to deal with lawlessness. Now, every time we see these incidents, it becomes more widespread. It's totally unacceptable, should be condemned, and really, if we are to become the sort of society that I want us to be, which is free, prosperous, non-racial, and indeed property owning, then the respect for property, indeed the respect for property rights, should be front and center. It is up to a state, a functional state, that should be protecting property rights. It is this failure that is a massive indictment on the current political elites. All right, we're going to end it off here this morning with, I bring you to Pietermaritzburg, that is Umsunduzi municipality, where a picture that went viral is sparking a heated debate around, are we getting value for money as ratepayers in various municipalities across the country? Are we seeing officials who work for these municipalities actually do their jobs? That photo, of course, that I'm talking about is of workers, presumably cleaning staff in the municipal area of Umsunduzi, sleeping, indeed idling and resting on graves in that particular area in the municipality, sparking outrage, of course, and people asking the question, is this what we're paying for, especially in that municipality, which is in dire straits, with Pietermaritzburg itself being a filthy cesspool. You'd never believe that that is the capital of KwaZulu-Natal, indeed looking like an absolute hellhole. Dirty, but this is clearly the image that municipal workers are leaving residents in that part of the area with. Let me read this particular piece, which of course highlights how, in response, the Msunduzi municipality indicated it would launch an investigation. Now, in a statement, the municipality said it was aware of what it labeled as disturbing photographs. Rather, such unacceptable behavior is condemned with the contempt that it deserves and will not be tolerated, read the statement issued by the municipality on Monday afternoon. Now, the city manager further indicated in the statement that he had ordered an investigation into this particular incident, end of quote. Now, again, as I said, this issue is a bigger one. It isn't just Umsunduzi. The mayor of Durban, unaccustomed as I am to agreeing with him, had also himself recently said municipal workers are lazy. His words. Those are the exact words that he used. And unfortunately, he's not wrong. I mean, take a drive around some of the neighborhoods in Durban and you'll see municipal officials, cleaning staff, for instance, idling, sitting under the shade, enjoying cool drink and early lunch, because it's usually around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And it begs the question, when is the actual work being done? Durban itself, for instance, is in an absolutely filthy state. And these are the same individuals who, on a drop of a hat, will not hesitate to demand bonuses for their non-performance. It is a culture that has to be rooted out. And part of rooting it out, of course, is to bring back consequence management within the structures of municipalities. Where is the consequent management? If you don't do your work, then you're going to be fired. That used to be how things were. Indeed, when I was someone who was working in various organizations, I understood that very basis. But unfortunately, given the political culture in this country, which is of the political elites tying themselves to unions which are politically aligned, often these municipalities are unable to fire people at the requisite rate. And why? Because their buddies in the unions will object. This is the culture that we need to shatter, and it's a culture that unfortunately has been inculcated by the current ANC crop and their alliance partners. You get rid of them and you pretty much get rid of this culture. All right, that's it from here on Vuka Nazo this morning. A very difficult one to do without electricity. Apologies for the poor lighting and poor quality. But if you do like how we start your mornings, then hey, visit our friends at the Daily Friend. You'll find them, of course, daily. You'll find them, of course, Mondays to Thursday at 1:30 p.m. live. That's dailyfriend.co.za. With that being said, thanks for watching. Please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. And on your way out, share, please, this video so that more people watch Vuka Nazo. With that being said, I'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, for another episode of Vuka Nazo.